This is the BackRow Cincinnati Bengals show. I am your host, Josh Miller, alongside with beautiful Brad Borchers. And this is all brought to you by fansided.com. Read my articles there. Read your articles there. Read everybody's articles there. You got articles on all sorts of sports. But today we are talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Brad, one thing that has been troubling Bengals fans' minds over the past, I would say, the summer. What is going on, do you think, with the Joe Burrow contract?
Hey, Josh, it's great to be here again. And I know we touched up on it last week, but to be honest with you, this Burrow contract is the only piece of drama that's going on in Bengal land. You know, there isn't
Pretty
a
much.
heated. I mean, the most heated roster spot is for QB2. So that's been There aren't too many storylines, which is good. Generic
Right.
is good when it comes to training camp. People are speculating green lights at Paycor, and is this a concern? Why haven't this been done yet? And all that. I think if Burrow wanted to be the highest paid quarterback, they would have written it out just like Herbert's, threw on an extra $10 million or whatever, and it would have been released the next day.
Absolutely.
Honest to God. I feel that the longer it goes on, the better it is for us Bengals fans, and to keep T, keep Jamar, keep Joe, because a lot of people don't realize this, but the NFL PA is a union.
Right.
And contracts have to go through the union and union approval.
Right.
So my tin hat theory, and I should get a tinfoil hat.
We'll get them.
Tinfoil, yeah, we'll get them. We'll get our tinfoil hats out. My theory is it's being held up by the NFLPA, that it's too team friendly.
I mean, the way that when you look at it and the way you've explained it, if Joe Burrow did want to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, the Bengals would make it happen. It's not like they don't have the money for it. They have the money for it. Okay, so then that scratches one off. Then you got, now you got to think, what are they going to do with the Higgins contract? Well, Joe's already come out and said, I want to keep my guys here. If we got to restructure my deal to keep T here and to keep everybody here, then let's do it. So that scratches that off the list. And now it's down to what is holding this up. It's not the Bengals. It's not Joe. I mean, you looked at a couple of outside factors. It could be the agent or it could be the NFLPA. I think that's what we're down to.
Yeah. And the agent's done his job with, the endorsements. Joey B has plenty of endorsements.
Oh, he's got plenty of money. More money than you and I will ever see.
Sniff.
Yeah.
So it's not that. It's the PA protecting the future quarterbacks because, when Justin Fields or, when Trevor Lawrence, because he'll be the next big one, comes up for his extension, and unless the Jacksonville Jaguars go to the Super Bowl this year, he won't have the accolades Joe Burrow does.
Do you think it's
success?
That's true. But do you think that Joe Burrow taking a lower contract is going to reset the QB market that badly? Because when you look at it, it's not like QBs aren't getting paid that high. Patrick Mahomes still got a ridiculous deal. I still feel you got to still feel like Trevor Lawrence and
Mahomes reset the market, and then Deshaun, Russell, they keep one up in one, and nobody's touched Deshaun's 230 guaranteed.
God.
But first of all, it's the Browns. Second of all, they had to throw in because he didn't want to go there, because who wants to go to Cleveland?
Not me.
So they threw out a ridiculous number, and that's an outlier. But if you look, Wilson's a little higher. Jalen Hurts was a little higher. Herbert's was a little higher. And everybody, Bengal Dumb, Bengal Twitter, Bengal Jungle, whatever, all said, okay, now Herbert, and people just start throwing out numbers. If it was that easy, it would be done. It would be done because and there's no drama. There's no smoke. There's no malcontent. Even with T, people have twisted just T saying it's on God's time. Twisting, that's talk that it isn't happening, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. Or it's all held up in the PA.
Right. Oh yeah. Or it's a done deal and we're just waiting for it to get approved. That's it.
It's probably the language of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot, the term with Mahomes' contract was, rolling guarantees or rolling bonuses. And it's probably something like that.
Yeah.
For Burrow. And then once Burrow's number is set, then whatever T is signed off for, if it was, well, Burrow gets this, you get A, or Burrow has to take this, you get B or C.
Mm-hmm.
They're both going to roll in together. It's just my conspiracy theory that it's the NFLPA that's holding this up, not Burrow, not the Bengals, because both sides have been too courteous and too tight-lipped about
very
it.
Tight-lipped, yeah.
And just look at the Bates contract situation. That was never tight-lipped by both sides.
Everybody knew what was happening with that. With Joe and T, they're keeping this very close to the collar.
And there's a reason.
Now, Brad, I got a question for you. But real quick before I get to that question, I just want to mention if you want to join the show, if you want to comment and talk with us during the show, we look at the comments every time. Go over to our YouTube channel, the BackRow Cincinnati Bengals show on YouTube. It's broadcasting live there with the comment section wide open. And you comment in, your name will pop up, and we'll talk about your comment. Love to hear from you guys. All right, so Brad, I do have a question for you. This just kind of popped up as you were talking. So now let's look at the contract. It's going to get done. How many years on the contract is too little for you? Because you look at Mahomes, he got 10 years. I believe Deshaun Watson got 4. When you're looking at Burrow, how many years is not enough? Where's your cutoff?
Not enough? I think 4 is too low.
I would agree. 4. So would you be happy with a 5-year contract? Yeah,
I'd be satisfied.
You would be satisfied. That's really a hard question because now you got to look way down the road.
Yeah, at 5, because the window with the current roster would be over, and they would have to retool. And in 5 years, we have, God willing, 2 Super Bowls.
Got 2 rings.
Then, Burrow's accomplished the winning. Now, does he want the bag? And after 9 years in Cincinnati, would we be okay with Joe walking?
There's so many questions that go along with that. And that's the beauty and the beast of the NFL. Because when you look at 5 years, you're not thinking like, oh, you are kind of thinking like, oh, shit, like Burrow might not be here for his whole career. But you also got to think down the road, 5 years. Let's just say year 3, and this is God forbid, knock on wood. I'm not saying that this happened. What if Joe Burrow has another ACL injury? What if he's never quite the same again? And now you're locked into him for 10 years. You have set your franchise back. I mean, how many years? I mean, hell, look at Alex Smith. Look at Teddy Bridgewater. The Vikings locked into Teddy Bridgewater. First day of camp after his contract, non-contact injury. He's out for 5 years. I mean, so that's...
And now with guaranteed money, it's not like...
Right.
It's cap hit plus.
It's cap hit plus. So, I mean, it is just such, and at this point, the cap is I feel like just a theoretical, almost like a suggestion. I feel like everybody's just going over it.
Then what's going on in Kansas City with Chris Jones?
What is going on in Kansas City? That's
going back to what we were talking about.
We're not
having any of that. We're not having any of that. So everybody just, to quote Aaron Rodgers, RELAX, relax.
LAX.
But Chris Jones, He said he's going to sit out the first 8 games. And you know that guy isn't going to be training and staying in game shape or all that. So he won't even be football ready till week 12.
Yeah. What is going on inside of Kansas City? I mean, that's got to be a question that's getting raised. You got to think something might be going on maybe in the locker room too. Now, obviously, I know winning a couple Super Bowls, that's pretty nice. But, there's also a new regime that comes in every single year to Kansas City. Is there some conflict, some rift? Clearly, if he's sitting out the first 8 games, it ain't all candy and nuts.
No, there's something to be said about that. And, eventually the turnover, and look at the Patriots dynasty with Brady. People forget they had like a 10-year gap in between Super Bowl 3 and 4 with Brady.
Right.
And Kansas City might be getting into that gap where they're competitive, where, they're 1 seeds, 2 seeds in the playoffs, going to AFC championship games, even winning the conference, but not getting it done in the big game. They could be entering that period of their Mahomes year.
Yeah.
Because, Kelsey's getting long in the tooth.
He is. As a Bearcats diehard, that's very hard for me to say.
Yeah, but he's done enough for UC.
He has. He's done plenty.
Take your UC hat off and put on your Bengals hat.
Hey. Yeah, I listen. They're both playing. Yeah, right. No, right. I take it off. I mean, Kelsey has done plenty at the tight end position. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's gonna get a broadcasting job. He's gonna be in entertainment. He'll be in movies. Like he's got life way after the NFL already ready to go. He can
except for Taylor Swift.
Except for Taylor Swift. Oh God.
Except for Taylor Swift.
I don't even want to talk about that. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. So Kansas City is just they're interesting. It doesn't feel like Kansas City was what it was last year and 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Those teams, you always felt like they had a path back. Even last year when Tyreek Hill was gone and Kareem Hunt were gone, you still felt like the Chiefs were the number 1 seed. This year, it just doesn't feel like it's all there for them.
No, it doesn't. And yeah, they took the chance on the secondary and it held up enough with starting all those rookies last year and all that. And they have a year to the maturation. But I saw a stat where they've lost it if Chris Jones is out, they've lost like almost 50% of their quarterback pressures from last year's defensive line between him, Dunlop, and another gentleman that I'm spacing on.
Frank Clark.
That have left. Okay, secondary is important, but everybody will get picked apart if you can't get pressure on the quarterback.
Oh yeah,
especially
Burrow, this year.
The 3 amigos will feast. It will be 525, and we both know ZT can be petty.
ZT
can be petty.
Yes, he can.
And I love it. And you love it too.
I love it.
But, Joe's sitting there at, 505 and we're up 2 or 3 touchdowns in Arrowhead.
He's going to go long ball.
He's going to go one more.
Yep, he's going to go one more. He's going to establish dominance. That's something that Zach Taylor over this past year and the year before, you've seen him do that in the AFC North a lot. You've seen him not pull off the dogs, even when, game was probably well in hand, which is, again, that's a good mentality to have, especially in the NFL. Being in Cincinnati, how many heartbreaks have we had where the teams come back at the very end of the game? So, but then there's also, hey, we the big dogs now. This is how it goes. You come to Cincinnati, you get your ass whipped. We're going to go out to Baltimore, going to go out to Cleveland, we're going to go out to Pittsburgh, and we're going to whoop your ass in front of your own crowd.
Absolutely. And, we've talked about this offline. I relish us being the villain.
I love it. I love it.
I relish when the Bengals win the Super Bowl.
Mm.
I don't want other fan bases to be happy for us. Oh, that's so nice. Like Joe Burrow, it's so great they finally got their Super Bowl. I want people to be pissed. I want people to be pissed that they can't say, "Oh, poverty franchise, 0 rings." I want them to be mad. I want them to loathe it. I want to be able to, just
you were going to be the
people's
worst. You were going to be the worst shit talker of all time when the Bengals win the Super Bowl. You're going to be the worst. It's going to be great.
So?
I think you're going to be pretty bad. You're going to be pretty bad.
No, I mean, some of our brethren on X or Twitter, they save receipts.
They are
they're
pretty good. They're pretty good.
They're ruthless.
They're pretty good. So, Brad, all right. I think one thing that I think the Bengals need to accomplish this year that they have yet to do, they did it on their previous 2 Super Bowls, but they haven't done it last year or year before. How about host an AFC Championship game? Paycor Stadium is such a game booster. It's a game changer. The jungle is, slow. It's slowly, but it has turned into one of the loudest, most hostile places to play in the NFL.
Drunkest.
It was never always like that. And drunkest. It was never like that. Now it is. Having that ability to play in Cincinnati in those cold weather games against this AFC, conference is going to, I think, propel the Bengals to another level. I would like to see them take the first seed this year.
I think that's the next step in the in the maturation. I don't know if you saw, but Zach Taylor announced that the starters will not be playing at all in Washington. And I agreed. I wish they would have gotten. I wish they would have gotten 1 or 2 series together, but the calf injury put the holds on that. I did not want Joe Burrow stepping on the field in Washington.
Oh, absolutely not.
Call me superstitious.
It's not superstitious. Washington's field is the worst field for injuries. It has the most injuries upon every stadium in the NFL.
I've heard that about Paycor. Regardless,
hey. It's a lot better now.
It is, but I just don't want Pittsburgh 2.0. Come September 10th in Cleveland. If the Browns beat us and they beat us, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if it's because we're out of sync and we have 5 turnovers and we lose a long snapper to a pulled bicep or whatever, R.I.P. Clark Harris.
Clark Harris, my guy.
Whatever happened to my guy Clark Harris? Never to be heard from again.
I know. I just, it makes me as sad as you are, dude. It's having Clark Harris not there does suck. But yeah, when you start looking at that Cleveland game, it really does suck that it's the AFC North. It's an AFC game and it's an AFC North game, but there's a good chance it's not going to be as good as the Bengals are going to be good this year. And that sucks, but that's the NFL. We saw it last year when they played the Steelers.
Is Baltimore, because
that's going to be the focus.
They're already crying in Baltimore. Humphreys is out for 6 weeks. Marlon Humphreys. So
yeah,
they
Marlon
already
Humphreys is out.
They're all. I can already hear the Ravens fans that they would cook us if they had Humphreys, right? Because he owns Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he really does. Yeah, he owns them all right. He owns them. It's just some of the ridiculous things that I hear from opposing fans plus NFL players. That's one of them. And the other one I still can never get over is the Bills player that said if we would have played him in a dome, we would have beat him 45-27. Dog, what?
No.
What? What did you say? I'm sorry? No. That's just not true.
No.
We would have beat you worse.
Patently false.
It's just the way. I mean, it's the
Hayden
worst.
Hurst dropped a touchdown in that game.
Oh my! If Hayden Hurst cooks you in a game, you don't deserve to be in the conference championship. You don't. I'm sorry. And he cooked. He cooked him.
Or Odell saying that he would have gone for $151 in the
Yeah, I'm
Super Bowl.
sure. I'm sure he would have.
Yeah, he had 2 catches for 54 yards before he got hurt.
That's a shame, isn't
Yeah.
it? You know, you go back to that game, and I hate bringing up the Super Bowl because not only was there a lot of bad, there was a lot of good in it, and it was an awesome time to watch and see that. But you go back to that game. I come away with 2 thoughts from the Super Bowl. Yeah, you want to talk about ADHD bouncing off back and forth.
Yeah, hell yeah, let's go.
But you're talking about it. I came up with 2 thoughts. Number one, the Bengals should have never have been in the Super Bowl. They just were not the best team at that time.
They weren't ready yet.
They were not. But number 2, they should have won the game. They were the better team on the field. They had
that Sunday
opportunity after opportunity to close the door. After Chidobe Awuzie picked it off, after we scored a touchdown, if we score a touchdown there, it is over. The game is over.
Good night.
Yeah, good night. Good night, and we're celebrating in Cincinnati. But, you know.
It should have never gotten to the Logan Wilson.
It should have never gotten
holding.
There. Correct.
Von Bell missed the tackle on 4th and 2.
Yeah.
He had Cooper Kupp dead to rights.
Yep.
Everybody in the stadium knew they were going to Cooper Kupp on 4th and 2. My then 7-year-old or 8-year-old son's Cooper Kupp. Everybody knew it was going to Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
And how he just wasn't blasted at the line is unbelievable to me.
Just missed. I mean, he just missed it.
Yeah,
that's it.
And I the Awuzie interception,
right?
But the line fell apart.
Apart. Yeah,
they held up for 3.5 or 2.5 quarters, and then the Rams' defensive line was too much. Spagnola, or it wasn't Spagnola. Who was their DC? What they made they made the adjustment. Spagnola's in Kansas City. They made the adjustment. They knew they had the advantage.
Yep.
And you know what? Aaron Donald could line up offsides and not get flagged. So
correct. It's true.
# truth. Those are the most painful parts about. Right. We had our things, and if anybody's watching that's a Rams fan, okay, T. Higgins, yeah, it was an OPI, but does that offset the hold on him at the goal line that forced us into a field goal instead of a touchdown in the first quarter? Does that offset the Logan Wilson hold? That's 2. Does that offset Aaron Donald lining up off sides on 4th and 1 with 40 seconds left?
You know what? And Brad, this is the beauty of us. I'm going to tie that all the way back into next year or into this year. So you mentioned that one of the things that the Rams beat us on was the defensive line and the pass rush. That's something that the Bengals have struggled with last year and this year. This year, I do believe that their pass rush is going to be much better than it has been in the past 2 years. Adding Myles Murphy, and having Joseph Ossai again for another full season, you still got a monstrous interior. I think that the pass rush has been something that has grown over the past 3 years. I mean, a lot of us talk about the offensive line getting better, and it has. But I got to say the defensive line pass
rush. The D-line is going to be monstrous.
Monstrous.
They could keep 12 guys. They're going to make another come Final Cut Day. They're going to make a couple of teams very happy with some of the dudes that they are going to cut.
Right. Yeah.
They are 12 deep where they can just cycle. So, go back to the AFC Championship game. Trey Hendricks held, but he was still able to get a little bit of pressure on Mahomes. If he had a little bit left in the tank, I think he would have gotten Mahomes in the backfield. Right. If Ossai had roughing the passer, late hit, whatever that call was, aside, Joseph Ossai kept us in that game.
Yeah,
that guy played out of his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at him this year, if you see how he's interviewing, he has this look like this is never going to happen to me again.
Yep.
Somebody who's going to have a chip on their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out for Joseph Ossai. Joseph Ossai could lead the team in sacks, and it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, let's look at the preseason game for Joseph Ossai. What happened? He had an interception as a defensive lineman because after the ball was thrown, he didn't quit on the play. He tracked the ball, got the tip, picked it off, and made a big play. I agree with you. I think this is a big Joseph Ossai year. After the Chiefs game, I wasn't mad at him. I felt bad. I was just like,
it was an effort play.
It was right.
He was a half second left.
Yeah, right. It was bang, bang, half second. I mean, if that happens in the regular season, we would have never even considered it. It just happened to be at the worst time. But it was an effort play. It just a step out of bounds. You know, he's got to know that. But that was also his first full year. And he's playing lights out. So Joseph Ossai, comeback season.
Look at the tape. Mixon was hit late out of bounds.
Joe Burrow was hit late at the last drive. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have our gripes, and Chiefs Nation will quit your crying. We have legitimate gripes about that. I mean, Chiefs fans every other game gripes like I've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
But what we covered last episode, we played like dog crap. We got the ball back with a little less than 3 to play in a tie game.
That's what you want.
Yes. And we were down 3 starters on our low line, and that really showed. What was it? That 3rd and 15 from inside the Chiefs 20 that they got when they made that first down. I was like, we're going back to the Super Bowl.
There it is. Right.
No, we are going back to the Super Bowl.
We're going back.
And the wheels came off the wagon, and it happens. That's football. And that's what happens when it's one game.
Right. Their D-line made a play. They made a play. They were better. They beat us straight up on the offensive line.
And
football.
Where we improved, we improved on the O-line more, even though I think the starting unit was good enough last year to win us the Super Bowl.
I agree. But, I mean, Alex Kappa getting injured was huge.
Well, we lost Collins and Jonah. We lost both our tackles, and nobody talks about that.
Yeah, lost both the tackles. How we – and then we go to Buffalo and beat their ass.
That is the team that's going to take a major step back. Because, again, go back to our tinfoil hats at the beginning of the show. Diggs is complaining, and people are starting to squabble. You look at Bengals camp, and you have this is the tightest knit locker room I've ever been in. Blah, blah, blah. You know, T has put some stuff out on socials, and people are thinking that he's meaning the extension, and he's not, and he's having fun trolling the fans.
Right.
But nobody's making those offhanded, read into the comment more than you should comments that they want you to. Nobody's playing those little reindeer games or anything like that. That's happening in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Clearly that's happening in Kansas City.
Yeah. You can make an impression that it might be happening in Baltimore too. I'm hearing rumblings out of their camp that they're also not on the same page.
And in Miami, you got Tua, telling Ryan Clark to keep his name out of his mouth. Like, come on, buddy, you're a quarterback in the NFL.
You're a grown man.
You got to thicken up your skin. If somebody's telling you to, that you didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he didn't flat out say he doesn't know what I was in the gym all the time. He never said Ryan Clark was flat out wrong. He didn't deny the allegation, which makes you go,
Or two, you could have just made it like a goofy thing, like laugh at it or something. Yeah. When I go back to when Jamar Chase was naming off his top quarterbacks in the NFL, he didn't name Patrick Mahomes, and they said Pat Mahomes. He said who? And he said, that's who. it's just jabs. It's just
Yeah.
jabs. We're having fun out here. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
It's just trash talk. Jamar didn't complain to the media.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow didn't complain to the media. We didn't,
Yeah.
even when our mayor Aftab, as as much as he's embraced the team as he has, that was the dumbest thing he's ever done before the Chiefs game ever. Yeah. But then the Chiefs handled it on the field. You know what I mean? Like, they handled it. And then they get this.
They get butthurt that they have to bring up the Cincinnati mayor.
Mm.
When we win the Super Bowl, I hope we don't just bash the Chiefs or every day, because that's what they do, and we make fun of it. Like, really? You beat us in the AFC Championship game. You're 1-3 against us. Yeah, you closed the deal in the Super Bowl, and we did not. But come on, guys. Celebrate your championship. You've won 2 in 4 years, and you're sitting there whining about the Bengals, and
because we live rent free in their head. It's because we live rent free, Brad.
Because we're gonna be 4-1 against them this year.
Yes, sir.
I think they're taking not as big as the Bills, but they're taking a step back. The team that scares me the most out of the AFC, it might be Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, I would agree with. A lot of people
they're
are
young,
talking about the Jets, but I would say Jacksonville.
The Jets don't have an offensive line.
No, they do not, and they're also very unproven. And Aaron Rodgers could come out and be an MVP, or he could be an absolute bust, or somewhere in the middle. He can be both.
But a 38-year-old quarterback without an offensive line, say that out loud.
Yes, I know. Everybody's sipping the Kool-Aid. I'm going to stop sipping the Kool-Aid. But Jacksonville, I agree with. Jacksonville, I'm sipping that Kool-Aid. I think they're going to be tough.
They're winning the South, going away.
Well, I mean, who's going to challenge them in the South?
Not
very many.
Not Indianapolis. Not Houston.
Not Houston.
Yeah.
That is like one of the worst conferences in the NFL in a long time.
Oh yeah. Well, the NFC South wasn't too much better last year.
The NFC South's not too much better this year.
Yeah. Who's coming out of the NFC South? New Orleans?
Falcons. Desmond
You
Ridder.
think so? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
You know me. I gotta root for my boy.
Jesse Bates and.
We'll beat them.
We're going to beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl.
We'll beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl. That would be
we'll beat them 28-3.
We'll beat them. Brad, I want to bring it back actually to last show. You mentioned a question that you had. It kind of caught me off guard, so I just threw out some answers out of where. It was the question that was what was some of your favorite memories just as a Bengals fan. And I started to think about it after we got off air, and I got to tell you, probably one of the most favorite memories I've ever had, I actually shared with you, was the Bengals pep rally. I go back on YouTube and I watch that a lot. And I'm like, wow, I can't remember the last time that the stadium was half full, but had the electricity that place did for the Bengals pep rally. That was incredible.
That was a fun night.
That was
cold too.
It was freezing. It was freezing. We were up on that stage. It just was a party. It was a party. People there not for a game, but for a pep rally, and it was packed.
It was electric. You couldn't find a seat. When the team walked out, it was
place goes crazy.
When CJ ripped off the knee brace WWE style and threw it and was like, I'm playing, and that, everybody was in a frenzy because, that was pretty much the only injury on that team going, the only question mark going into the game.
Right.
And you had this sense like that we could do this. And, I remember us talking, when we first met on Stripe Squad, and we were talking like, hey, we could sneak into the playoffs this year. We got a lot of talent, and then everything just started clicking. And last year they lived up to the expectations. And, that year they learned how to win and win consistently. And that was their problem in the Super Bowl year was, they would win one game and then lay an egg the next. I mean, their record was 10-7. So that makes sense.
Right.
But, they went 12 in a row. It was 12 in a row.
Yeah.
Including the Bills the 2 playoff games.
Oh yeah, including
last year.
playoffs. Yeah,
they won 12 in a row. That's hard to do in the NFL.
Oh, that's insanely hard to do in the NFL. It's hard. It's just hard to win in the NFL in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the NFL. I believe it's the hardest to win a game among any league. I believe. I mean, there is no off weeks. That's why teams very, very, very rarely go 0-16 or 16-0. It just doesn't happen. Well, now 17. Yeah. But
the Browns will find a way.
The Browns will find a way. Now, if the Browns go 0-17 this year,
I'll go to that parade.
I will also go to that parade. They might burn down the stadium, dude. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. Well,
they have enough talent to get
Arizona's on the schedule, so.
They might go 0-17.
Now they might go.
That's a bad team.
Oh my God, and they're selling off more parts for nickels on the dollar.
Literally, that's you're talking about a travesty and a fall from grace, because Arizona was good through my childhood. They were good for a couple of years, especially when Carson went over there. They were
they went
all right.
They went to a Super Bowl.
They went to a bowl, and just they went once, never got back. They just never quite, and then just down. And then they became retirement home. J.J. Watt went there. A.J. Green went there. People thought they were going to be good. I'm like, these guys are old, man.
Yeah, they're past their primes. Well,
all right.
I think about that Arizona Super Bowl, first of all, because Antonio Holmes made an amazing catch. But I more think of Kurt Warner. And Kurt Warner led 2 fourth-quarter drives to either go in the lead or tie the Super Bowl. At both games, both Super Bowls he lost. He scored too fast. He hit, he hit Ricky Prohl in the Patriots one, giving Brady enough time to get the field goal for Adam Vinatieri. And then he hit Larry Fitzgerald and just broke one open to take the lead against the Steelers. And gave Big Ben too much time.
That's just such. The
legacy of Kurt Warner, if he would have scored just a few seconds later on both those drives, and he was 3-0 in the Super Bowl, he'd be GOAT level material.
Oh, you could definitely say he'd be GOAT level material.
Because then, how much confidence does Belichick still have in Brady if Brady didn't win the big one?
Should I go get some tinfoil? Now we're heading down a rabbit hole. I love it.
Well, it's still preseason and the Bengals have no storylines.
All right, I do have a Bengals question for you.
Okay.
Okay. So again, while Zach Taylor has been, he's been down, he's been out. People have said, why is he still coaching? And then all of a sudden he comes back, he wins a Super Bowl, or he goes to a Super Bowl. He will win a Super Bowl eventually. Becomes one of the most consistently winning coaches in the NFL. 2-minute offenses or 2-minute defense has been outstanding. But I believe there is still a little meat left on the bone for Zach Taylor. Now, he has gotten better every single year, I believe, in coaching. What is one thing you want to see Zach Taylor get better at this year than he was last year?
Let his first string get some snaps in the preseason.
Okay, we're not talking preseason, Brad. Brad.
I don't think he manages it. Nitpicking. Sometimes he hasn't thrown the challenge flag when he should have.
Okay.
Or fight for a challenge. The Chase touchdown week 1 last year comes to mind right off the bat. Sometimes the offense seems predictable, but if I look back at his very first game against Seattle, and he took a lot of chances, and John Ross went off in that game, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a fun offense. Yep. We might not be any good, but we're going to have some fun.
We're going to be watchable."
Yeah, we're gonna be the most fun 4-12 team ever, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and then since it didn't work out and Andy had a fumble and the wheels kind of fell off the wagon, he doesn't take as many calculated risks. I think he and going back to Super Bowl year, going for it on that 4th down in the Vikings game. After he did that, got way more conservative because he got ripped for it. And I remember you and I talking about it. We loved it. Impose our will, stop, choke them out. Don't punt. We're up 2 scores. It's 3 yards. We have Joe Mixon.
Let's go.
4th and 2. Let's go.
Right.
And sometimes I just feel like he doesn't take the chances consistently enough.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay. So you're saying you want to see a more consistency with the aggressiveness of the play calling. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again,
you have Joe Burrow, the smartest quarterback in the league and the most accurate passer in history.
Really, literally.
Use it.
The most like. I mean,
you
he's
have
already
Tyler
the most
Boyd, who
he's Mr. Third Down. We came up with that nickname. He's Mr. Third Down. Yeah, because he's going to get it.
He drops one pass every 20 games.
Yeah, yeah, and it's
so
never in a big
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, except for that was a bad drop. That was a bad drop. Oh man, yeah, I'm definitely talking about when I talk about what I want to see.
I mean, is that really a flaw?
What, dropping one pass?
No. Zach being a little too conservative sometimes.
Well, I think a lot of aggressiveness versus conservative and play calling is going to come. I mean, that's a lot of hindsight 2020 when you look back at it. Like, yeah, you should have did this, but what if he does that and that fails? Then we would be like, oh, you should have done that. You know what I mean?
True,
but
true.
But the aggressiveness is something that has won the Bengals games. And that is something that in the Marvin Lewis era where they were anti-aggressive.
Ever.
They never
And
were.
I guess looking more back at it, that might just be a piss poor take on my part.
No,
because
I don't think
the 4th and 6 against the Chiefs was maybe the wheelbarrow and the balls call.
Yeah.
Throwing a chase and double coverage 30 yards down the field.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most insane plays I've ever seen. To be fair, what is Spagnuolo doing single coveraging Jamar on a 3rd and 27?
Oh, on the 3rd and 27? I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about the 4th and 6. I was
talking about the 4th and 6 in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
That would have gone down as one of the greatest plays in Bengals history if we would have went on and won the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
or at least that game.
Oh yeah,
and after that play, I was like, oh, we're going back to the Super Bowl.
We're going back to the bowl. We're going back. Oh, okay, yeah, that play was insane. Where he throws it up into double coverage, like what?
F it, Jamar's down there somewhere.
He's down there somewhere. I mean, holy shit, that is probably one of the best plays in Bengals history. If you look at the great wide receivers in Bengals history, and there's plenty of them. I mean, how many of them actually make that play?
Well, there's 2 on the roster right now.
I do think
T would have made that. T would have made that catch. Chad would have made that catch.
Do you think Jamar and T Higgins are the two? Where do you rank them in?
They're the best
Bengals
duo.
History? They're the best duo. They are better than Ochocinco and Hushmanzada. I agree.
Absolutely.
With that. But where do you put
better than Eddie Brown and Tim McGee? I don't know. That was a pretty good duo. That might be a little old for you, but those dudes, that sugar huddle and that 88 offense, Tim McGee and Eddie Brown were all that.
Touchdown Eddie Brown, baby.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So okay, So I would definitely put Jamar as number 1 in the Bengals
all time
history.
Already.
I mean,
going into his 3rd year.
I mean, he's
over Chad, over Isaac Curtis.
Okay. Let me I'm going to rephrase that. He will be. He will be. Not he is. He will be.
With the trajectory he's on, yes.
Yeah. I do have a hot take that I have gotten a lot of backlash for, and I don't really know why. I think T. Higgins right now is better than AJ Green ever was.
Ooh.
In my personal opinion.
Why are you getting backlash on that?
I don't know. Well, there's a lot of people that loved AJ Green, and I loved AJ Green. I love AJ Green.
I love AJ Green too.
But however,
you put the high point catches side by side, and I think T's a better route runner.
T is a better route runner, and he's better with yards after catch. I mean, you want to talk about an absolute just beast when it comes to getting yards after he catches a ball. It's T. Higgins. I mean, he just muscles through guys. And, again, like we talked about it, like F it, Jamar's down there somewhere. T. Higgins, my favorite play of him is got to be when they played the Steelers in that Super Bowl year when they singled up T. Higgins and he just jumps over the guy like he was a child.
Oh, when we threw up 20-some points on him in the first half.
Oh,
that one was at home. Oh, yeah.
That was great. But that's what I'm saying is that T makes those plays. T's just more versatile than AJ Green ever was. AJ Green also had a problem with fumbles. T. Higgins really doesn't have a problem with fumbles. Will he fumble the ball? Yeah, it's the NFL, but it's not a problem. With AJ, it was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
AJ dropped passes. AJ wasn't available a lot of years and a lot of games. You know who is available pretty much every game? It's T. Higgins. Knock on wood. Let's knock on wood. So anyway, that contract again.
I don't think that's. I mean, I don't think it's that hot of a take. I'm in agreement with you. I loved AJ Green.
It's not as good. He's just not as good as T.
T. Higgins can take over a game.
Yeah,
and AJ Green had great games. If you can hear the difference.
Say it again one more time for the audience.
T. Higgins can take over a game. AJ Green had great games.
Care to
elaborate? I never thought I don't think he instills the fear. But then again, he never had a running mate like Jamar. Mm-hmm. Not even close.
We talk about he had Brandon LaFell. It's basically the same thing. Yeah. He had John F. Ross, as my dad likes to call him, John F. Ross. Yeah. He still calls him that. Those were some great bangs. Oh, he did have Mohamed
Sanu. Then you have Marvin Jones Jr.
Who
did us a solid last year.
Yeah, he did. He also had Baby Hawk too. Artrell Hawkins' son.
Yeah.
What was his name? Baby Hawk. I will think of it.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah. I'll get a ping at 11:30 and then.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, Brad. It looks like you and I went a total of 47 minutes. That's pretty good for preseason, I gotta say.
That is, and bad. We didn't get any comments of people thinking that we're absolutely crazy, which either means two things: that we did a hell of a good job, or nobody's watching.
That's correct. Well, we know Crypt Keeper's watching. He's out there. I gotta appreciate everybody watching on Twitter and YouTube. This has been the Back Row Cincinnati Bengals show. You can find us all over Twitter, find us all over YouTube, and then also give us a follow. And then also go over to fansided.com, read some articles I've written, read some articles that some of our other guys have written. Very fun place. Get all your sports over at fansided.com. Brad, do you have anything to add before we close this bad boy out?
Hoo-day.
Hoo-day. This has been the Back Row Cincinnati Bengals show.